as far as comments go. But all right, I think we're good. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our first stream of 2025. This is, of course, United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I am back again with Christian Erickson joining us
Hello.
during the festive New Year time off in between training sessions. Of course, this is my boy Dylan. We are chilling with Dylan today on the channel. Dylan joining us again as we talk today a little bit about what kind of goals we want to set for Manchester United as we head into the new year. Dylan, how was your holiday? How are you doing?
It was good. It was good. It's good to get away, de-stress a little bit. Now get back to the grind. Just hopefully, likely United's going to get to improve some things. Go from there.
Yeah, I think we got to stop banking on United for a whole lot.
Yeah.
We'll keep our expectations low so we're not disappointed, right? That's what I'm learning. Like I said in my last stream after the match against Newcastle, I'm at the acceptance stage right now when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to grief. Like, skipped right over bargaining and right over depression. I was at anger after Wolves, and now I'm just like, you know what? This is just what we are now. So
Yep.
it is what it is. But it is 2025 now, and this is a time of year where around the world, hundreds of thousands of people are having the very same kind of lofty, you might call it naive, but regardless, ambitious, positive thought, New Year's resolutions,
Yep.
everybody's got them. I don't think I've ever actually set New Year's resolutions. I don't know. How about you, Dill?
No. Usually, I just stuff gets carried over from last year, and I'll tweak it. Like
Yeah.
if I'm going to the gym, I'll tweak like how much I'm going to work out, or if I'm working on a project at home, I'm going to do it on these days instead of this, or at this time get this much done. So I don't
Yeah.
set New Year's resolutions either.
I mean, you guys all know the drill, right? We sit down, we tell ourselves, you know what? This is the year. I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to make it happen. Then we set a goal. Some people like Dylan maybe want to go to the gym, want to get some more exercise. Maybe for others, maybe 2025 is the year, we finally create like a budget or something. We finally get a handle on these finances, set like a financial goal. You see it all, right? Travel more, eat healthier, house projects, etc., etc. But for Manchester United, 2025 should be a year of goals, not only in the back of the net, but goals overall as a club, right? It just involves implementing some plans, identifying some goals, and then making some changes, focusing now to bring those goals to fruition. Seems simple, right? But so do a lot of things, and somehow we keep complicating them, right? Basically, United need to set some New Year's resolutions and try to leave this mediocre 2024 behind. What were you saying, Dylan?
If there's a way to make something more complicated, United will find it at this point.
Oh, we do it, man. It's like going through the garage to get to the bathroom with this club. It's ridiculous. So the question, though, today, and what I want all your guys' help with is what should Manchester United's New Year's resolutions be as we head into 2025? What changes do we want to make? I asked this question on Twitter. I did that post the other day, wanted to get your guys' thoughts, and I'm glad that a lot of you responded. It seems like a lot of you had the same idea, so we'll touch upon that a little later. But I want to know your thoughts. Of course, Dylan and I are going to have a couple of our own. I have a list that I'll go through of some things, and then maybe we're going to take a look at that. So hit the like button, subscribe to the video. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, you want to get involved. We are on the road to 3K. All you absolute legends got us to 2K, which couldn't be more thankful for, so I appreciate that. And of course, hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss any of the content. And then if you're feeling froggy, check out some of the membership perks. You can learn about different ways that you can get a little more involved in the channel and a little more involved in the content that we're putting out for everybody. So we're going to start with some transfer news because the transfer window is officially open. January is here. I know it came out of nowhere. It just wasn't prepared for it.
Came out of nowhere through our depths of depression. So
Yeah, that's maybe there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But again, it's that hope. You hope that maybe something will happen, but
yeah,
you try to use reality to tell you no.
yeah.
And for those of you who are on Danny Olmo watch, he is now officially a free agent. So he was not able to get registered. Barcelona, the La Liga have officially removed him from Barcelona's page on the La Liga website. So interesting. I know a lot of you like Danny Olmo. I'm not so keen on him just simply because of the injury record and our medical staff. So, but in any case, what we got here? Lionheart's jumping in first and foremost. Good day, everyone. How are you, Lionheart? Good to see you, my friend.
Hope you're doing well, man.
Haven't jumped in the resolutions yet, Lionheart, so you didn't miss a whole lot. We're just now getting started on transfer news. So Starting with a little bit of false transfer news. So Marcus Rashford, obviously talk of the town these days, not for the best reasons. Apparently took to social media, Instagram. I don't have Instagram, so I really don't even know how Instagram works. Is it just words and with pictures? Is that usually what the thing is with Instagram?
Yeah, they'll throw videos in there too.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't. I have no idea what Twitch is still either. Somebody.
I don't have it either.
I'm convinced that one of these, because I don't know what it is and I haven't really seen anything on Twitch. I'm convinced people are just pranking me and it's not a real thing, but it is what it is. But Marcus Rashford took to social media today, took to Instagram to call out some false rumors in the Sun. The Sun lying? No, never, never.
No, they are the most trustworthy news source in England.
It's a four-letter word as far as I know in the UK, the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
So he took to Instagram to post a response to a story in the Sun claiming that he had met and held talks with an agency regarding securing a move away. So the agency in question was the same agency that secured Gareth Bale's move to Real Madrid. And Marcus Rashford posted this on Instagram. He said, "There's been a lot of false stories written over the last few weeks, but guys, this is getting ridiculous. Never met with any agency, and I don't have any plans to." So it's interesting. Um, it's it's interesting when and why and to what these players sometimes respond to on social media. Like it's really really interesting. Could this mean that he's not going anywhere, or is it just he's not talking to any agencies? Maybe, or just maybe it just means the Sun is full of shit. Surprise, surprise. Um, Honestly, though, I don't even why you waste time reading anything from the Sun, Marcus, let alone
That,
responding to it. Right?
that was going to be one point bringing this up, talking about as we'll get into some issues later in the video. But you hear about Roy Keane, you hear about everybody else back in the '90s, and they'd look at all those things, those headlines in the paper or in the periodicals and things like that, and they wouldn't. It didn't phase them. They didn't have to respond. They didn't have to do anything with that. So
Yeah,
that's something that's kind of concerning that you're taking time out to focus on that
I think,
when
and
you
maybe
know the Sun isn't going to be something that you necessarily can trust.
I mean, I appreciate maybe the angle of him not wanting there to be any sort of more circus drama, any sort of tension, like, and maybe just kind of squashing it. Because he's done this in the past. Like, he did this with the United Stand, like, last season on Twitter and stuff. So I get that. But at the same time, I'm just, like you're saying, why even stoop to that level? Why not just let it roll off your back, right? Like water over a duck. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's just the generation of social media fans. I don't know. Lionheart says, if Rashi can pull his socks up, I would love it if he stays. Controversial, I know. I don't think it's controversial to say if he improves and he works hard but because that's all we ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of people, what they're having a hard time getting past is the fact that he said he wants a new challenge. I think for a lot of people, maybe even myself included, when a player says that, I'm kind of already mentally moved on from them. Of course, before he'd done that, I would have said the exact same thing, Lionhearts. If he could just work hard, like he can stay, find a way to fit in the system that doesn't really use wingers, like, but he just maybe doesn't want to. So, any final thoughts on that before we move on to the next? All right.
Yep, you're good.
So we got another report from Pete Hall, journalist. He claims that Real Madrid are plotting a £50 million bid for Diogo Dalot this month. Now, we know that Real Madrid are in need of defenders. I've said that for years. I don't know why they focus on Kylian Mbappe and number 10s, but apparently that's just what they do. And obviously, Danny Carvajal out pretty much for the whole season, picking up cruciate tear over the summer after a really good Euros. Um, but we know that they're looking at linked with Trent Alexander-Arnold. But apparently, according to P. Hall, there's a bit of uncertainty regarding Alexander-Arnold's future, and this is why Madrid maybe are allegedly looking at Diogo Dalot. So here's why I'm skeptical of this rumor. Right, 50 million. There's no way
Yeah,
Diogo Dalot is worth 50 million pounds. There's no way Real Madrid are paying that for Diogo Dalot.
he's a good player. Doesn't necessarily fit the system we have, but I mean, we
Yeah.
saw him in a back four. He did really well.
Mm.
Um, but 50 million. I,
And yeah, he's not only is he not worth that. Real Madrid's finances are not great. They're looking at
no,
nothing but free signings these days because they just, the Kylian Mbappe, yeah, he was a free, but what have I said? There's no such thing as a free transfer. You're going to pay wages, you're going to pay signing bonuses. There's no such thing. You're at the end of the day, especially with someone like Kylian Mbappe, when it's all said and done, you're probably paying just as much in the bonus and the wages as you would have if you just signed him outright. But we will keep an eye on this one, of course. I think Diogo Dalot is one of those players, like you're saying, Dylan, who kind of sticks out a little bit in this system. He's like he could get away with it in the back four when you're maybe like a 5, 6 out of 10 on and off the ball, but it doesn't work now.
Yeah.
So sticking with our players for a second, potential outgoings. We got reports the other day that Real Betis were interested in loaning Antony this month. And today we got a report from Fabrizio Romano that doesn't have necessarily something to do with Antony, but it could, if you want to read between the lines, like I like to do. Could be a hint that Real Betis could be in the market for a winger. Fabrizio Romano reports that Como, that Italian club that Cesc Fabregas is basically trying to rebuild, Como have agreed to sign Asana Diao from Real Betis in an 11 million euro package this month. So he's a young winger, very quick, very fast. That leaves a winger-shaped hole in Real Betis' squad. So they've already been linked. They were linked, I think, in the summer as well for Antony, and the links aren't going away. Could that mean some sort of a loan or a deal or maybe a loan obligation are coming our way? Thoughts?
I want to believe that because looking back at things that Anthony did at Ajax and how he kind of started out at United, there's a player there. When he is on his game, he puts in a good shift.
Yeah.
He tries and puts his best foot forward. He tracks back, which is big. We don't get a lot of tracking back on some of those wingers, Garnacho. Um, so
Garnacho doesn't track back because he's the one who loses the ball
yeah,
outside of the opposition box, and he just sits on his ass and throws a fit about it.
yep. Rashford helped with that.
Mm.
But I think that level, like playing at Real Betis, the pressure's less. La Liga is going to be different. It's going to be a little bit less aggressive style of play. I think he'll fit better in that type of league than he would than he does in the Premier League. But the problem's going to be how are his wages going to be?
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's probably going to end up being something like a loan.
Yeah,
If it's true, something like a loan with an obligation where we pay, half the wages and stuff because he's on 200K a week.
yeah, and
Which
Batiste can't pay that. So
that was a sackable offense in itself, was giving him those kind of wages.
yeah,
I think, and even if I do agree that La Liga is probably a better fit for him, it doesn't even have to be the end game for him. It could be a
oh,
really good shop window. Spend 6 months or even a couple of years at Real Betis. We saw that happen with Mason Greenwood, for instance.
mm-hmm.
He went to Getafe, basically was their player of the season, and then
Yeah,
that was a springboard to something else. It can happen. It's a good way for us to kind of. It's not going to get us a whole lot in the immediacy, but it does get a little bit of wages off the books. It does maybe help us
exactly.
out. So,
Yep.
big up, Darko. Good to see you, my friend. We are just chilling with Dylan,
How you doing,
aka
man?
Christian Erickson here, talking about New Year's resolutions. So that was a little bit of the transfer news. Not a whole lot in the first day of the January window, but we will, of course, keep you updated throughout January, minus the couple days that I'm gone, but I'll do my best to fill you guys in while I'm gone. So we're going to get stuck in. We're going to go through some resolutions that Dylan and I were working on. Maybe we're going to chat about some of these for a bit. Feel free to jump in with your own as well in the chat. Hit that like button, subscribe if you are new. And then, since you really only want to take on one New Year's resolution, you don't want to give yourself too much work to do, we're going to maybe take a vote on which one you guys want at the end. So these are in no particular order. We're going to go through each one, get your thoughts, talk about Dylan and I thoughts, and we're going to go. Starting with number 1, avoiding relegation. No, I'm just kidding. Am I, though? Am I kidding?
Interesting point about that. The BBC put out an article because Amorim did the interview where he talked about relegation and things like that, and they did the statistics based on it. And we actually, I think the report says we have a higher percentage to finish top 5 than we do relegation.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because there are so many of those intangibles that people can't even.
Oh yeah.
It's just so interesting. People say, like, mathematically, we're closer to relegation. Yes, mathematically, it's possible for any team to get relegated, but
Oh
you
yeah.
have to look at the intangibles. Like, what is the likelihood of that actually happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, people. Yeah, it's and like Andy Mitten said the other day on Talksport, we're low hanging fruit. It's everyone's gonna likes to kick us while we're down. It is what it is. But Get stuck in here. We're starting with number one. Improve our set pieces. So I had this one listed as set piece defending, but Christian Eriksen here reminded me that we're not great at attacking these set pieces either. Put in a decent corner though, Dylan, and you can talk. All right, Christian.
Yep.
Dude, honest to God, I don't know what's worse, watching Bruno fail to hit the first man or watching Eriksen send it way over everybody. Like, it's so frustrating.
I'm watching those two do that, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be like, this is part of your job,
Yeah. Yeah,
and you can't, like you said, can't be the first man or sky it.
yeah. And like Lionheart says, still half a season to play. We do still have half a season to play. Danny B in the house, big up, my
Up,
friend.
Danny
Good to
B.
see you. You're just in time. We just got started with our first New Year's resolution: improve the set pieces. We got another guy who's jumping in. Rob Taft, good to see you. He says we ain't getting relegation. Once the Arsenal and Liverpool games are out of the way, we could go on a run. We could go on a run
Oh yeah.
technically. I'm going to transition it like this. We can see
Yep.
it a little better. Um,
It,
we could. I mean, it's
looking
just.
at the schedule,
Go ahead.
but I
No,
was
I was
just saying,
just.
looking at the schedule, yeah. Um,
Okay.
After we get through that, we get Southampton. That could be a jump start. We have Rangers in the Europa League. Rangers are going to be tough, but not that we can't get that one.
We have
And then
Brighton
we've
too,
got
and that's not a walk in the park.
no, Brighton's going to be, but Brighton's kind of hit a rough patch. They haven't been doing as well, so maybe we can
I'll be there for the
get a point.
Southampton and the Brighton matches, and it's not going to be fun.
I'll try, Danny. I'll try to fuck off.
Says, Erickson, would you ever fuck off in January, please? We're trying. I'm trying to be mean to him. I told him to improve his set piece delivery already, but on that subject, so when we win a corner,
Mhm.
which honestly hardly ever happens, we're actually 13th in the league for corners right now. We hardly ever beat the first man. That's on Bruno. And then Erickson, you like to just throw it over everybody. It's like you're playing corner to corner games
Yep.
right now. The only time I'm halfway confident in scoring from a set piece is on free kicks. And only when Casemiro's on the pitch, because Casemiro
Yep.
always seems to find a way to get on the
Yep.
end of something. Um, as far as defending goes, do I really have to repeat anything I've said already? I feel like every match reaction I've done has always been something about complaining about set piece defending. Literally half the goals we've conceded this season have been from set pieces. So we got to find a way to improve. We kept Andreas Jorsen on when he came in with Wilcox in the summer. Amorim brought all of his staff. We're still doing zonal where something's not. Obviously, I've spoken a lot about players as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later too in terms of mentality. But what are your thoughts on these set pieces, Dylan?
Well, the biggest thing, and we were talking about this with the Newcastle game, just with the corners, but we saw it with some of the other the Wolves game. Forget where else they were. They had the Olympico, the Tottenham game.
Just pick
There's no
match.
conversation.
Odds are we
Yeah,
conceded a corner. You don't have to be super accurate.
yeah. They're not talking. They're literally just looking at each other. Like, I remember watching the Isak cross on the Newcastle game, and Maguire looks back, and Martinez looks at him, and nobody says Isak's coming through the middle. There's no communication there because Maguire turns around to watch the ball. Martinez lets him go by. I mean, it was just frustrating to see like no communication with that. And when you're on the pitch like that, especially from defenders especially Harry with experience, you got to be communicating with that. I know he can't see Isak making that run, but you got to send that message.
And this is where it becomes, like you're saying, about leadership, about communication. I think this is also has zonal marking can work. I think it's just like playing out from
Oh
the
yeah,
back. I feel like it needs a certain type of player because when
exactly,
like we have too many players who aren't marking anybody on these set pieces. They're just
exactly.
marking space. And the last time I checked, space has never scored a goal.
No,
Like someone just needs, like you're saying, and that's like, and this is why I said another day, like we need, just because you're not wearing the armband doesn't mean you can't be a leader. You can't be vocal. You can't organize. I don't care if Bruno is wearing the armband. He's not a defender. He's not a keeper. He's not used to that. So someone in defense, Delit,
yes,
Licha, Onana, say something, talk, organize. Like it doesn't. Everyone's just so quiet. It's so frustrating. It's like
yes,
playing co-ed indoor with people who aren't used to playing. Like you can talk to each other. You're allowed to speak. So
yep,
we're not being punished. I'm going to jump in with some of these super
yep.
chats real
Go
quick.
for it.
Trini Red Devil, welcome to the channel, my friend. Amorim is a little stubborn, not gonna lie. I don't have a problem with with stubbornness. I feel like you have to have a little bit of that. You have to back yourself. I feel like, it's still early on, in my opinion, for us to make those, any sort of the assumptions that we saw before. And it's definitely too early to sit here for some people. Not saying you're saying this, Trini, but for people to say he needs to change this, he needs to go to a back four and stuff. I fully agree with Amorim when he said, like, if I change tactics now, we're just going to be in the same place, in a year. And it's if I he said yesterday after the match, if you change your managers, if you change your tactics, that's the end for a coach. Like, we can't do that. So, and it's the poor tactics, it's that back four, it's that other stuff that got us to this point in the first place as well. Rob says Rangers will be like a Derby Cup game, but we have a better team than them. Says a Welshman about an English versus Scottish game. Yeah, we played them in preseason too. We won like 1-0, right?
Yeah,
But I think all you literally have to do is just show up and just be a little bit more physical and energetic in us, and you're going to get something.
but just think about what you just said. That's the mentality.
It is, and we're going to talk a lot about the mentality
Yeah.
too. But let me jump in. Lionheart. Here's a New Year's resolution: stop sending top keepers out on loan. Yeah, and Danny agrees. Lionheart. Yeah, Kovar hurts me.
That hurt a lot.
Vitek hurts, but Vitek's still technically our player. I love Vitek to play the whole preseason, like I've said a couple times. Rob says the guys on summer free is going to sit out and take the huge wages till then. I would. He's not going to go early for a quarter unless Saudi came in. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Well, you guys let me know what you feel about set pieces. Lionheart says, not going to lie. I thought it was Nigel. I was wondering what a stubborn Nigel was. Bloody text language. Yeah. So set pieces. What? Go ahead.
One more thing, just really on those set pieces. I want to get this statistic out there because it shocked me with my little bit of
hit me with it.
Time I had to get on. 159 headed clearances off set pieces and corners. That's 16th in the Premier League, which not necessarily a bad thing because City and other Liverpool are down there. But the change comes in. We're not clearing those.
Yeah,
they're getting second and third chances, whereas City will clear it out.
Yeah, that's another thing I probably should have thrown in is like win second balls. Like,
yeah, but that goes with your the mentality thing we'll talk about. They're not even fighting for it. So.
Yeah, I sat there the last time I was at Loaded Dice, and I think it was Grayson sitting next to me, and he and I literally just every time we lost the second ball, we would just look at each other and say second ball, and we said it probably a couple dozen times in that game. We're just not good at getting to those. So. Mm-hmm. If you have any thoughts on the set piece, guys, let me know. We're going to move on to number 2, and that is win individual battles. One area where I feel like you really see a tangible reflection of the complete lack of commitment in the squad is the individual battles and the stats like take-ons and duels. Like I sat here after, I can't remember what match it was. I think it was like Bournemouth or Forest, or probably Forest, which I think I was at the dice for. But I looked at the duels, the ground duels, the aerial duels for that game, and it was shocking. It reached brand new lows against Wolves, where Mateus Cunha won 13 duels, and our closest player on that day was Ugarte, who only had 7. Like, when their attacker is winning twice as many duels as our number 6, and like that's embarrassing. Yeah. We only won 44% of our duels against Wolves, 44% against Spurs. We are the 5th worst team for aerial duels in the league right now. Like, we are not winning individual battles when it comes to those. Like you saw it against Bruno, like just late to the tackle, get sent off. It's like you got to want it more. You have to already be in that mindset. But we do lead the league in tackles and interceptions, which is a little interesting. So I'm wondering what the correlation there was. What are your thoughts on that?
That one's a little bit hard because I was looking at that too, and I'm like, how do we have so many tackles and interceptions like that? Not with the efforts I'm seeing put in.
I feel like it's like what I said the other day against Newcastle. Like, we had a lot of tackles, but it's because we keep losing the ball. Yeah. So we're just stat padding because we only because like I said, the other stat is the take-ons, the dribbles. Only 4 successful dribbles against Wolves, like in the match. Only 4. 4 against Newcastle, only 6 against Spurs. And like, Spurs had 11 successful dribbles against us. We had pretty much half. We're just not able to take people on to move the ball. We get it in wide positions, and our wingbacks stop and pass it back. I don't 100%. Understand. And that's, again, it's the battle in your mind that we're losing right now as well. Yep. Rob says, Ten Hag was stubborn, but came out with silly things like dynamic football. Amorim tells you what he's doing and why it's bad. I like that. It took Klopp and Arteta time. Well, not only did it take Klopp and Arteta time, and we'll talk a little bit about this too, but their clubs gave them time because
Yeah,
those managers were project managers. They're there for the rebuild. They're there to be backed and to do that. It took Klopp 4 years to win anything, and Arteta hasn't done anything since that first half season he took over with a squad that wasn't even his.
exactly.
It is
And
you have to weather the storm. Go ahead, Bill.
and they're at Liverpool and Arsenal, the pressure's way different
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because the spotlight's not on them; it's always on United.
Yeah.
So Rob Taff, I 100% agree with you. With like, give him time. He tells you what he thinks. That gives me a little bit more of confidence in that when he gets the right players, he'll get things humming and he'll get things running right.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's going to take time. It's going to be frustrating. That's going to be the biggest thing. We're going to be frustrated for a while as fans, just like things aren't going to be working out. But
I feel like United fans are born frustrated these days. It's just we're just getting a head start on it.
frustrated and sad since 2013.
And this is the difference. Like Liverpool are a good example of the difference between a well-run club and United. Basically, is they had a project, and I said this yesterday. They had a project, they had a plan, they had a culture and an ethos they wanted to set, and Klopp was a part of that. They didn't
Yeah,
build everything around Klopp. Klopp was a part of that vision. We haven't done that in the 10 years since Fergie's left.
yep,
But again, like you're saying, Dylan, like there are different levels to this, and at United, like Marcus Rashford is getting like his whole situation is getting way more traction than the fact that how well Liverpool are doing right now because no one cares about Liverpool.
exactly.
Um,
Just like City are second best in Manchester, Liverpool will always be second
yeah,
best in England.
it's just the way it is. Trini says, I don't want him to change formation. He needs to stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation, but instead of playing Dallo every game at left wing back when it's clearly not working, play Anthony. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the Liverpool preview because I've got some interesting lineups. So you guys be sure to come back for that one. But and like like Danny and I were saying ahead of the Newcastle match, Trini, like we almost wanted him given who we had missing against Newcastle, I almost wanted him to play like a 3-5-2 or like a 3-1-4-2, pack that midfield and try to
Mm-hmm.
get balls forward more to two different attackers. Because again, Hoyland super isolated. He's wrestling with everybody. He's literally up there with three defenders most of the time. Another body up there to kind of create some space and movement could help. But that's why we also need better tens.
Yeah,
Lionheart says, I agree, Trini, but it's a scary thought as well. Yeah, we don't really have much on the left. I mean, again, go through the left options: Dallo, Malacia, Anthony. You're literally just picking which shit
yeah.
stinks less at that point. It's just unfortunate, um, but yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on individual battles? It's something I'd like to see us improve, and that it is. There's a lot more to it than that. But did you have any final thoughts on that, Dill? Before I move on,
Nope. Also,
cool,
we got a
cool.
good discussion there going. So
Moving on to number three. We need to figure out a best 11 and the best
yeah,
positions for these players. So if you recall, I was a bit critical of Amorim's heavy rotation throughout this December. Anyone who's watched this team for the last few years would have already known which players should be nowhere near the starting 11, which players should be nowhere near the squad, really which players should be nowhere near this club. It doesn't take like a long time, and I really don't feel like it should have taken Amorim that long to figure that out for himself either when it comes to, okay, who can I rely upon? Who's my best 11? Where are their best positions? In his first 5 matches, Amorim played 20 different players and used 25 subs. So basically the maximum subs for those first 5 matches. And again, I've said this with a caveat. I've tried to be a little gracious here. And like, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to train. You don't have a preseason. I get part of this has got to do that. But it was a little frustrating. And I do think there are times where it did hurt us more than help us. Um, he has defended his rotation as a means of preventing injuries. And he's also said that due to the short interval between fixtures, he's rotated to try to train the team and get as many of his players used to the system as he can. So, Dylan, what are your thoughts?
I'm not as upset with the rotating at the beginning, like for the first few matches, because he wants to see what he's got, who can be fit and who can fire in the system. Um, Now, especially since we've played in Europe, we've played all over the place. You pretty much know who fits your system. So he needs to really be tightening that down. Like Rob Taft says here in the chat, he needs to play his best 11 against Liverpool. Yeah, we need to have the best 11 out in the field there. I
Well,
do
not
want. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I do wonder a little bit is if because Amarin seems very sure and certain in how he goes about things. Um, he's got not necessarily arrogance, but confidence in what he's doing. Um, I wonder a little bit if he's like playing some of these guys to kind of show the locker room, show everybody like, hey, some of you guys shouldn't be out here
Yeah.
or shouldn't be in this squad. Like you need to figure it out. So
And I think for me, I'm looking less at the rotation that he has. I was using an example. For me, this is what I want to see moving forward. Like Rob's saying, he needs to play his best 11. He needs to settle on his best 11. And quite frankly, even aside from the best 11, I like a core kind of 14 or 15 players, with the subs involved that, I like him to settle on that. And then where, not only that, but where the best player positions for these players are on the pitch. We've experimented here and there. We've played players in different positions. Ahmad in 10. We played Anthony as a 10. We played Mazraoui's kind of played wing back, center back. I still don't know where Mizrawi's best position is in this system personally. But it's not complicated to play your best players in their best positions, to put yourself in the best position to get a result. Um, and I feel like by now he should know that. And I think
he
moving
should.
forward, I'd like to see more of that. Danny says, just play a couple of the 18s and Dan Gore couldn't get much worse than Kakanki in for Leacher or McGuire. Gore in the 10, Obi, Bianchiri. Oh, I always forget about Bianchiri. I love me some Bianchiri. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little later on here, Danny, as far as the youngsters go. Trini says, yeah, I don't like it either, but Dallo offers nothing. At least Anthony links up with players. Look, when he came on, we looked much better. Not saying I'm an Anthony fan, but we need to try and see. Anthony, bless him, he tries. When he came on
Yeah.
in the Europa League, I want to say it was Bodo Glimt at Victoria Plzen. I don't remember. That first half, he was winning duels left and right.
Mm-hmm.
He was putting in a shift. It's just a shame that there's not much more to it than that. So great comment. I was thinking he was putting Eriksson and Casemiro together to show how bad we are compared to Newcastle's excellent midfield. I mean,
I tried, guys. I tried.
you tried. I mean, you look better when you got moved to the 10. That's where I had you in my match preview, starting alongside. I forget who I had in the 10 in that one.
I can't remember now either.
Yeah, I don't remember. It feels like a lifetime ago. Raptaf's Forson and Big Willie left for a reason. I mean, eventually these youngsters are going to want to play, and they've got their agents or families, and then obviously you do have other clubs that might be interested that are thinking, let's give them some minutes. So thankfully we've got buybacks and sell-ons for a lot of them. But
Yep.
let's move on to my next resolution that I'd like to see United tackle this year, and that's we got to reduce the errors. Um, a lot of the goals that we're conceding, I'm not trying to take a lot away from the opposition, but a lot of the goals we're conceding really shouldn't be happening. And quite frankly, this has been going on for a long time. So when I say reduce the errors, it's not me blaming Amorim. It's saying this has been a problem. I want us to make a resolution to fix it. Because even if you remember, like I'm sure when I put this on screen, a lot of you immediately thought of Onana. But a lot of the goals we've conceded in recent years have been the result of just stupid mistakes. Casemiro earlier this year losing the ball just outside of his box against Liverpool because no one's talking. He's slow. He's not doing anything with it. Onana against Forest, palming that shot right back into the area against Spurs that no one was alive to. Leach's poor clearance against Spurs that game that led to a goal as well. Mazraoui gifting a pen to Bournemouth. These kind of things. And if you remember the Champions League last year, just the simple defensive errors, the cutbacks, no one closing down space, no like against Chelsea last year. These kind of simple little errors that we need to cut back on because it's costing us. It's just ridiculous. What are your thoughts on errors, Dylan?
Yeah, agree with that, everything you just said 100%. I add in just recently, I've noticed this the past few games. We've been talking about this during the matches. Their passing, especially early in the during the matches, it's like when the press comes out, they forget how to do anything.
Oh yeah,
The midfielders, the wing backs, the center backs, and they panic and they pass it back. We are second in the league in back passes right now because all we do is they charge us, we pass it back to
yeah.
somebody behind us because we don't know what to do yet, or they panic, and that's led to a lot of those errors you were talking about because we're making those poor decisions.
And here's the thing: it's a perfect storm when it comes to that because it's we've pissed ourselves under a press for years. Our players just are not. They're not. A lot of them are not good enough on the ball to feel confident in those situations. And I think that when you take that and you add it to a playing out from the back system, when you add it again, you add another ingredient of a lot of teams now press high up the pitch. It's just a perfect storm that doesn't tend to go our way. And so this is where I like, I'm starting to feel like maybe it's not a formation thing. I'm thinking maybe that a playing out from the back that slowly is just not going to work in this
Yeah.
league, because we saw it fail under Ten Hag as well. Southampton, Russell Martin got sacked because he stuck to that. And I'm not saying that we need to abandon the principles, but I'm not even saying we need to stop playing out from the back. We need to play faster, like you're saying. We need to
Yeah.
move the ball quicker. Um,
Because and just notice the times they do play quickly, we get in good positions,
we
but
had some
then
decent spells, even against Newcastle early
yeah,
on in the first half. We passed our way out of trouble
yep,
with like 6 or 7 in a row, really good
yeah,
one touch passes. And I'm like, why can't we do that all the time?
and that we get out of those positions, and then we immediately slow the ball down,
Yeah.
and I cannot figure out why.
I brought up that pass map the other day. Mainly, I brought it up to illustrate that Hoyland literally received not one pass that game.
Yeah,
But if you looked at the pass map, the thicker lines indicate the frequency. The thicker the line, the more frequency that pass is played. And it's just a horseshoe from our wing backs to our center backs
yeah,
to the other side. And because, like you're saying, and even I watched it against Newcastle, like Ahmad gets the ball, Dali gets the ball, they stop. It was
yep,
like when Anthony used to get the ball when he first got, he would just stop.
yep,
Even when he had it on a run, he would get to a place and he would just stop. And I'm like,
yep.
why are you waiting for someone else to get up? I don't get it. Just get it to the byline.
I think they are waiting because I can see them looking once in a while for the runners, and
Just
nobody's running.
you're the runner. You've got
Yeah,
the ball. Just
yeah.
run. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
get it.
yeah. It's like they're trying to get that pass going instead of like Ahmad. I don't know how many times he'd get out in the wing. I'm like, just go, and he stops. I'm like, why? Why are you stopping?
It kills me. Ahmad is like one of the best players we have when it comes to getting it in the box, and it's
Yeah,
like he's being told not to.
yeah,
Danny says, wouldn't blame Willie for leaving. Slab Evans shouldn't have been ahead of him in the pecking order. The Kambwala one kind of kills me a little bit.
that hurts.
Um, Rob says, can we stop putting Martinez against a big guy? I have no idea why Leach was marking Joel Linton. That was one of the stupidest things. It reminded me, like I said in the match reaction, of when Dan James was marking Vestergaard in one of these matches a couple of years ago. Like, come on. He looked like Master Blaster out there from Mad Max trying to jump all over him and freaking guard him. It was messed up. Sorry, just aging myself there.
Good.
Danny was saying, not blaming them for leaving, says Danny, understand it. Think we could have done with them this season. And Alvaro. Yeah, Alvaro's the one that really kicks
Yeah,
right now, especially just how glaring it is that we've let people go. I don't blame Ten Hag for that necessarily as much. Like, I think that when you're told by the medical professionals, because he's not a medical professional, when you're told by the med staff that Shaw and Malassi will be fine and they're not, there's not much more a manager can do. If my doctor tells me something, I'm generally going to take their advice from it, right? Like, it is what it is. But I think that Ten Hag probably should have looked at the injuries and the recovery time and said, nah, I can't bank on that. I'm going to keep Alvaro here. Rob says, my dad's 75 and has a better right foot than Anthony. His legs should be scanned because I think it's wood. We say that and we joke, and I agree. But if you remember some of the big Anthony moments from the last couple of years, they've all come from his right foot.
hmm
The goal against Barca, the goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup quarterfinal on his
he's
right
had
foot.
he's had several crosses that have been off his right foot. It's like,
And that's why he's frustrates me, because, like, dude, you have one. Like, I mean, it's not like me out there. I have no left foot. My left foot's just for standing on. I couldn't do anything with my left foot. But he's a professional. He should be doing better. But yeah, the errors. We need to stop the errors. We need to reduce those errors, and it's just It's just the focus thing. Usman, welcome, my friend. Hope you're doing well.
well,
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Let's move on to the next one. Any final thoughts, Dylan?
nope, we got that covered.
Cool,
A lot
cool.
of
Now,
frustration from us there.
yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah,
Moving on, number 5. Address the mentality issues. So if you guys have been following the channel for a while, obviously you know what I do for a living. You know that the mentality of resilience is a big deal for me. So you've seen me talk about it on several occasions. I've probably done 2 or 3 or 4 different videos just on this issue alone. And in an odd way, and Dylan pointed out to me yesterday as he and I were going through this, a lot of what we've already discussed so far kind of falls under the umbrella of these of mentality issues, whether it's focus, whether it's fight, whether it's just resilience, a lack of initiative and determination on set pieces mentality. Second best in 1v1s on and off the ball mentality. Schoolboy errors left and right mentality. But addressing the weak mentality also means improving, like I said, resilience, accountability, leadership, professionalism on and off the pitch. And really, all that's going to do is culminate in setting an example for the youngsters as well as they're coming into the first team and going through the academy. Um, fixing the mentality issues also means stamping out player power, a la Rashford or Sancho. Um, what are your thoughts on that, Dylan?
100% agree. And the thing that hurts me the most with that is, um, the younger players that are definitely looking up to those guys that are seeing what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're not learning good, um, mentality, good coping mechanism, good things like that. I mean, you talk about all the time, or people have talked about all the time when they look at the '90s group, Wayne Rooney's group that came in. Okay, when he
yeah,
was a young guy, they learned from those older guys how to be a pro. Yeah, they had fun. Yeah, they did stuff, but the older guys set the tone that the younger guys took from that. And when
yeah.
Rio left and Michael Carrick and Rooney leave, and nobody takes that up because Pogba comes in and doesn't want to do that,
Yeah.
and other guys.
Lingard's out here as a 28-year-old acting like he's 20.
Exactly. So you lose that sense of responsibility, of accountability, and when things go against you, you lose your confidence. And I see a United out there right now that's low on confidence, that doesn't believe in themselves, but they don't want to take ownership.
Yeah.
Some of those guys out there, I really look when they do interviews, when they do other things, it doesn't look like they want to be the problem.
Well, it doesn't look like they want to be the solution either.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to say, you know what? It's like they just keep kicking the can down the road. Like the perfect example, like mentality, like the Chelsea situation last year, where they came back and scored a couple, just balls to the edge of the bottom corners. No one
Yeah.
makes an attempt to come out and close
Yep.
Cole Palmer down until it's too late. No one is taking responsibility. Again, set pieces, no one's attacking the ball. Either they're not jumping, and when they do, they jump. They're on the back foot because they're not attacking the ball. 1v1s, no one wants it bad enough. No one is anticipating. No one is. It's really frustrating. I could go on and on and on about it. We need leaders. We need more guys like Rooney. Even Nemanja Matic. Rooney, when Memphis Depay rolled up in like an orange Rolls Royce, Rooney went in on him for that.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing? Nemanja Matic took it upon himself. He and a couple other senior players start a fine system for players when they're late. He said Sancho was the biggest payer. We need more leaders like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that in this squad. I feel like we have players who could be. I think Mizraoui could be a leader. De Ligt is a good leader. I think Bruno is a leader. I
Oh yeah.
think he's got the passion and he's got the personality. I just don't think it comes out the way a lot of people like. I think, it can come out in different ways. It's like managing. You can be like, a lot of people have their preferences on what that looks like. It is what it is. So we have it. It's just why isn't it work? Rashford should be a senior player, a leader in
Should
that
be.
squad.
And that's almost where I think having some of those like older players be around the club, like in and around setting the example for those guys, like you they know about Roy Keane. Roy Keane. Yeah, it was Roy Keane. I get my Ted Lasso.
They're pretty much the same person.
Yeah,
And
they
at the
know
end of the
about
day, they're both my spirit animals, so I'll take
right.
it.
They know Roy Keane. They know Paul Scholes. They know those guys that have been there, and if they don't respect them, that's a huge red flag. Because
Yeah.
those guys will come in. Yes, they're on all the media punditry now, and they're going to say their piece. But any one of those guys would come back and die for the club to set an example. Like they don't have to go out on the pitch, but they'll show them how to do the right things with training and things like
I feel like Keno should have like a football boot camp or
that. He
something.
should, 100%.
Just scared straight, Keno style. Here's the thing, though, too. I worry, and Rob Taft touches on another point that I didn't even think about. I sometimes feel that players play more freely away from Old Trafford, more nervous energy playing
Yeah,
basically at maybe even just playing for United. We talked about that
yeah,
with like Xerxes. Is it too much?
hmm
Because we have seen that sometimes the weight of some of that, like Valencia gave up the 7 shirt because he didn't. It was too
yeah,
much pressure. Is it too much pressure just to play for United? Is that like how do you measure that when you're scouting?
yeah.
When like there's no stat for that. There's no like Old Trafford XG kind of a thing. There's not an XOT. There's just like what. how do you like the only way to know? And this is why, like I said, it's you're never going to know if a signing's going to work out. And there's a number of reasons why they're not. Maybe that's something that you just don't know until they get here. And like what was Dirk say? It's clear that maybe it's just something a hurdle that he's never going to get over.
Yeah.
And what worries me, what I was going to say is there are players now, there's a generation, because it's been so long since we've really been up there, there are
Mhm.
going to be this generation of players who will never have seen Scholes, Giggs,
Yeah.
Beckham play. Like they're not going to know the history. They're only knowing the last decade of football. And they're and like, I feel like we might lose some of that.
We are at that Arsenal level in like the mid to
Oh,
late
no. How dare you?
2010s.
How dare you?
I know it's terrible to say, but I mean they lost Henri,
Yeah.
Vieira, and then they were in kind of that purgatory for a while, and
Yeah,
then
we need leaders, man.
we do,
That's
we
why I
do.
wanted Kimmich, and he could
Oh,
be a cheap transfer to come in and lead for a couple of years.
yep.
Rob says, while opponents come here like it's a cup final, the memories they make playing is such an iconic place. Yeah, I mean, everybody shows up
Hmm.
like it's a cup final.
Yep.
Rob says, I don't think Rooney is a leader via words. He doesn't seem bright enough. I mean, I don't need him to be like 150 IQ. Look at him on the pitch. I remember this. One of the clips that always stands out to me with Rooney is, I forget what match it was, and somebody helped me out in the chat. He's arguing with the ref, a bad call, bad call. We get the ball back, and immediately he just scores. Like,
Hit that off a volley.
yeah, I was like, this
Uh,
is Rooney's mentality. That drop ball that he
yep.
just started kicking people over. Like, that kind of mentality is what I want. I don't even mind people get sending off now and then. Speaking of sending off, you guys have fun looking at who's refereeing our match against Liverpool. That'll be fun. We can talk about that in the preview. I'm not happy about it. Michael Oliver.
They brought David Coote off the streets to
Oh, no,
hook
man.
up. And,
It's Michael Drama Queen. I want to be the
oh yeah,
star. Oliver,
I
America's Got
figured.
Talent. Loves
So
making.
Dallow's getting sent off, right?
Yeah, I'm still. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to go in on that. Danny B says, just get 70% of them gone by the summer and Ineos stick their hands in their pockets and step up like Bowley did at Chelsea. Fuck FFP. Yeah, Danny's just like, you know what? We're just deal with the consequences later. Just go hard and spend the money. Bando, welcome, my friend. Happy New Year to you too, man. Good to see you.
Welcome, man.
Rob says, I remember watching new signings Ronaldo and Jemba and thinking Jemba was fantastic. They tried to fool you by naming him twice. They thought, yeah, it was just like Jemba squared. Didn't work out for math. I didn't see math isn't even my thing. I remembered stuff. What subject do you teach again, Dylan?
History.
History. Yeah, Dylan's a teacher, so that's why he comes in with the stats. And I bet right now there's a notebook in his lap. Boom, called it. Teresa Carrera Ferreira, welcome back. Good to see you again, Teresa. Number 6, getting the ball into the net with all the missed shots on target. United should
Oh
be
yeah.
sitting on the top half of the table. Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's the finishing could be a good maybe the headline. Not quite the finished article. We need to improve the finishing for sure. Rob Tass says it's not transferred to being a manager. What's not transferred? Let me know. Clarify for me. Dan B says, unknown or young cheap signings we need, Rob, players who want to play for the badge, not looking for big wages on
Yeah.
their last contracts. Yeah, that's like I
Yeah.
said, we need players on their first or second contract, someone who's not already making 100 to 150,
Yeah.
someone who we can pay 100 to 125, who will fight for the next one. Oh, you say Rooney is not transferred to being a manager. Yeah, it's not going well for Rooney as a manager. It doesn't. There's no guarantee that being a world-class player is going to make you a world-class manager.
Yeah.
We've seen it time and time again. Yap Stam's not really ever done that hot as a
Hey,
manager.
hey, Frank Lampard did the Great Escape with Chelsea a couple of years ago.
Well, he'd have to be a good player first, right?
Yeah.
I don't even care. I'm here for the tribalism. You guys already know that. I don't give Steven Gerrard props at all. Does it bother Liverpool fans that Mo Salah has just like miles eclipsed Steven Gerrard as probably a club legend? I mean, I guess it shouldn't because he's still like the best player, but. Teresa says, question for Ericsson. The Newcastle, why are the youngsters warming up separately? Are they not included in the team? No team spirit. What were your thoughts on that? You were there. Let us know firsthand.
You know what? They didn't bring me my tea before the game,
Uh-oh.
and I just had to send them to train separately.
So they were on punishment, huh? I did see for anyone who watches, I think it's Forever United TV, Adam Stott. He used to be with the United States. He does his own. He put a clip out of the warm up because he was at this match, the last match, Newcastle, and it's pretty glaring. The casual joking, kind of just lazy way the
Yeah.
first team players were training compared to even like the subs. Everyone who's a sub was training 100 times more. Like it was simple, just keepy uppies for the first teamers. It was just lazy pass back from like Garnacho and whatnot. It was really, really frustrating to watch.
Which says a lot about the mentality of what's going on in the first team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that mentality like and it
Yeah.
spreads.
Yeah.
It spreads.
100%.
Rob says, "Do we need another striker?" You guys let Rob know. Do you think we need another striker, young or old? We're gonna move on to the next one, and I'll jump back into the live chats here. Any final thoughts on mentality, Dill? No.
I think the comments we've covered it. Everybody's pretty much hitting the nail on the head there. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's like so. Ineos have shown right that it doesn't matter who you are or when you were hired. Honestly, with Ten Hag or Ashworth, they'll fire you or they'll back Amorim when he wants to leave you out the squad. So part of that could be the mentality. Honestly, the last thought I have in the mentality is players need to fix up or fuck off. Like it's just the way
literally,
it is.
literally.
And like use the sports psychologist that we supposedly brought in as a consultant, like to talk to players, like. And if Ineos have already fired the sports psychologist, I'll send him my CV. I'll come over there. Like it's
I can teach the under 15s.
teach him the history of the club. History
I'm
teacher.
going to. You fight for the badge. Fight for the badge.
You get the ball in the half torn. You do your job. Come
Yeah.
on. All right. What we got here? Number 6. As we're talking about in the chat, as Danny is, and this is probably one of the most popular responses. But number 6, my New Year's resolution: clear the deadwood.
Can just I just not to. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Rob Taff with a great comment right there from Marvelous Marlon Hagler. Talking
Marvelous
about
Marvin Hagler said, "The hunger goes if you're sleeping
yeah,
in silk pajamas." I don't know who
100%,
Marvin
man.
Hagler is, but that's a
Oh, he's a
really
great
good quote.
boxer in the '80s.
Oh, is he? Yeah, I've never gotten into boxing myself.
My dad used to watch him all the time. So
Interesting. No, that's a good point, Rob. Like
mm-hmm.
it's easy to, and this is the same with those contracts. You know, it's like we said. You know, Rashford, does he have the new contractitis kind of
Oh
thing
yeah,
that happened last year? Um, so yeah, number 6, clear the deadwood, please. Let me clip this off real quick. This is now we're moving on to resolutions for like Sir Jim Ineos. We talked a little bit about the players' resolutions, talked a little about Amorim, what Amorim can do. This is Sir Jim and Ineos. We got some resolutions here. One way to potentially address these mentality issues is to start clearing the dead wood at the squad. This was the most popular suggestion from you guys in the post that I did the other day. Danny B, Lionhearts, Usman, Carrie Skates, all of you basically said this was your New Year's resolution. Anyone who doesn't have the bottle to fight for the badge on and off the pitch needs to be moved on. It's bare minimum, like fight for the badge. We still have LVG players in the starting 11 when
mm-hmm.
they're fit. Shaw, Rashford was someone brought through by LVG. We have Jose players. We've got Ollie players. We've got players from every manager. Up until 2 years ago, we had players from Sir Alex still in David De Gea. Like I'm not
We still have
complaining.
one.
Who? Oh, yeah. Technically, yes, Johnny Evans. Tom Heaton, I guess you could technically say, is another one
Yeah.
as well. But this is my point. Like, we've not been able to clear the dead wood at this squad. And there's a reason we still have these players. There's a reason that no other clubs have put in serious bids for them because they're not the level that you need. They're not good enough. Um, I'm not saying just get rid of them because they're not Amorim's players, but many of them are just not good enough. They haven't been moved on simply because the previous regime wanted to maximize value for them, or because we pay them too much and no other club can afford them. We've shot ourselves in the foot as far as PSR and FFP is concerned because of this as well. Thank God the Glazers aren't making the footballing decisions anymore. We've already starting to get rid of people. Otherwise, Anthony's probably still going to be here in 3 years, but
Oh yeah.
we have to take the loss, cut ties, and just start clearing this some of this. It's going to help us with our wages. It's going to be an initial hit. It's going to suck, but like I've said before, it's like a bow and arrow. You got to pull it backwards to make it go forwards. You have to take a temporary hit to have long-term positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are your thoughts on clearing some of this dead wood, Dylan?
100%. It's like when you make. My brother and I talk about stocks all the time. Sometimes we get really good stocks, and they go up in value, and sometimes you get ones that just tank, and you take the loss on that because you have to.
Yeah,
It obviously could go back up. It's just a metaphor. We don't have time to get into all the stock talk and everything like that. But
Dylan's going to give you
um,
some trading tips while we're talking here.
um, but the big thing is now they've a lot of our players, we buy them for these huge contracts and then they don't perform. So now, yeah, we're gonna have to eat that. But what are we gonna get for some of those guys? Like Anthony, huge wages, and we're not gonna get anywhere near anything close to what we paid
No,
for him.
you never. It's like Sancho,
So
Maguire.
yeah,
We're not going to
yeah,
see any of that. Pogba twice. Like we're not. We make bad
yeah,
decisions, and it does
yeah,
make it difficult to clear debt. But I think Ineos, Barada in particular, he's got like that 2 year pendulum of like that guillotine. Like 2 years is coming really quickly if you're not cutting it on the pitch.
hmm,
You gone. I don't care how much of a loss we have to take. We'll eat it in the long run. It'll be better for us. Danny
which
said,
I
I think,
like.
yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
2 years should be plenty of time, depending on
exactly,
what happens with the managers. I mean, that's about how long a
exactly.
manager lasts at this club. But
Yep.
Danny says, I think we had to sell Fernandez to insurance on the Amrabat loan because we failed to sell Deadwood and couldn't afford it without selling Alvaro. Yeah, we couldn't bring in Ugarte without selling McTominay.
Yep.
Thankfully, this first summer that Ineos are here, we did manage to move on a lot of homegrown players. I think before that, the only other one was like Dean Henderson.
Yep.
But Greenwood's off the books. Camboila was gone. I don't like that one still. But McTominay, we had to do that because that was the only way to raise money. And this is the thing. It's like, again, it's like even with rich owners, it doesn't matter how rich you are. We still in the same PSR situation. We still can't spend a ton because we're still
Yeah.
within the constraints of the current PSR situation. It wouldn't matter if the only thing Qatari would have been able to do is stadium stuff and clearing the debt. That wouldn't have any impact on the PSR situation right now. And the Ten Hag situation hurt us as well.
Yep.
Um,
How much?
Danny said
How much was
another-
that buyout?
What's that?
How much was the Ten Hag buyout again?
I want to. I've seen conflicting numbers. I feel like it was between like 10 and 20 million. I don't
That
remember off the
that's
top
what
of
I
it.
was thinking because they had to buy out the staff too.
Yeah.
So
So it was. I would say I would split the difference. Say we'll call it 15. I don't know, maybe. But again, that counts towards PSR.
hmm,
That kind of stuff. And
yeah.
so, and think of how much we've had to do that in the last decade. And PSR
Hmm,
and FFP that operate in a 3 year window, so you can't spend 100 more than what you've made over the course of a three
yep.
year window. It's just is what it is. So, but we have to start just getting rid of some of these players.
Yes.
We saw some getting some eyes from MUFC, MPB, and stuff on Twitter regarding like maybe Casemiro. Who knows what's going on there? Rashford, Garnacho. You could be leaving on a free anytime. Maybe you're going in January.
Go back to my Danish roots.
I mean, yeah, get out of here. Go to Copenhagen or something. Go hang out. That's in Denmark, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, teacher. All right, cool. I schooled in America. I don't know geography, so. But yeah, any more thoughts on clearing the deadwood?
Yeah. You don't just it's a,
Yeah.
like we were talking about frustration that we've gotten to this point and what to do. So,
So number 7, we need to cut back on the cutbacks. This is for Ineos, a resolution. Whether you think the hate that Sir Jim and his team are getting is justified or not, Ineos do need to find a way to get fans back on side. They need to find a way to get a couple wins for themselves. And this doesn't just mean a couple new shiny toys in the squad. The cutbacks that hurt the fans need to stop.
yeah.
Stop the ticket prices,
Yep.
the concession issues. I get that Ineos inherited a complete shit show, but the fans shouldn't bear the weight of that. Like an example I use, like when COVID hit and supply chains were hit hard, there was a clear change. Like I don't know if you would go, how often you went out to eat and stuff, but like I did trivia and it was like night and day difference sometime with going to trivia, and like the portions got smaller, the
Yep.
prices got bigger. Like while if I order a burger, it's just a given that it's going to come with French fries. Not why do I have to pay $2, $3, $4 to get French fries? Like as a customer, I shouldn't have to bear the responsibility of that kind of stuff. If your plumbing breaks and you own a restaurant, I shouldn't have to pay twice as much for a burger to help fix that cost.
Yeah.
You can't. Ineos inherited a mess. Cuts need to be made. I get it. We had a bloated staff. It is what it is. You can't pass this on to the fans though. Like we have to stop raising ticket prices. To me, that's a no-no. Like I get it from a business perspective, but there's some things that are just hands off.
That sends the totally wrong message too.
Yeah.
So that's what really hurts. Like your new ownership group coming in, one of the first things you're gonna do is raise ticket prices. Yes, there's a reason to it, but the fans aren't going to take that when they're trying to support the club and they can't afford to go anymore. So
Especially, this isn't a club like City or something. This club was built by blue collar,
exactly.
working class. Manchester is blue collar,
Yep.
working class. Like, these are the people. Like, the club. This is what I love so much about football, and really, I mean, really about sport in general. Is especially you see a lot in like college level sports. It's just how intertwined the people, the local fans
Mm-hmm.
and stuff are with this. Like, here, it's a little different because we drive 20, 30 minutes to go to a stadium. In England, the stadiums are literally smack dab in the middle of these neighborhoods. In the middle, you're walking around. There's houses, maybe a shop. You turn a corner, and boom, Old Trafford's right
Yep.
there. At Luton Town, Luton Town is basically in somebody's backyard. Like, I love it, but we have to maintain
Yeah.
that connection, that closeness to the fans, to the community, not build walls. We need to keep the bridges built.
I was talking to somebody about something with American sports, and they were saying the same thing. Like these owners are just in it for the money. They've totally lost the connection to the fans because they
Yeah,
were talking about raising ticket prices for something. I was like, yeah, and that's a fear for me with football stadiums and specifically Manchester United. If they're going to keep doing that, you're going to lose. People are going to have a tough time trying to support Manchester United
yeah.
with those things going on.
And to his credit, like Andy Mitten said the other day when he was with Talksport, he said Sir Jim is not taking any money. He's put in his own money, so he does. It's a free hit. You don't have to do a lot to be better than the Glazers at this club,
Yeah.
but you're missing a lot of opportunities to do that, and you're actively hurting your chances of doing that. You're giving yourself a bigger hill to climb. It wouldn't take much. I'm not saying you're just giving lip service. It's just look at a lot of the decisions that the Glazers made, and you just start doing the opposite, um, or just stop those decisions in general. Like, it seems like it's a free hit. Rob says you're going on a free in the summer, so you won't move. Maybe Casemiro. We talked about that. In the summer there could be a bit of a bidding war, and there might be wages. Right now, if a club wanted Ericsson right now, and we're desperate to get Ericsson off the book because he's on a bit of a hefty wage bill,
Yeah.
it can actually be cheaper for a club to get him now than try to get him and get into some sort of a bidding war when it comes to signing bonuses. But we'll see. I think he should go back to Ajax. He could go back to Ajax and be a
Oh yeah.
captain tomorrow,
Oh yeah.
and do just fine there personally. Teresa says Amorim in the process of weeding the team. His process is not nice. I know I saw it in Portugal. The fans supported him, not once questioned his decisions or trashed him this much. Yeah, even Morten Holman came out. I saw a comment from their number 6 at Sporting. He said it was a bit of a shock when he left. And they're all kind of struggling right now to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Danny agrees. Is there anything else as far as the cutbacks? I haven't really talked to you a lot about any of the other stuff that we've seen from Ineos.
No, no. I just want to say I'm reading Teresa's comments as we go through. I agree 100%
Yeah,
with what she's saying. She's
I'm gonna go through these chats and see
nail
what
on
we're
the head
getting
there.
caught off. Rob says Ineos seem to go through managers in Nice. Not sure about their other club. Also, their build is footballing matters. Is it them making the cuts? I mean, they're the owners. They can do whatever they need to do in terms of this kind of stuff. It's just, you know, it's like I said the other day. If I got married and I found out like the person I got married to had all this student loan I didn't know about, the credit card debt I didn't know about, they've never improved anything on their car, the house, any of that. That's stuff that I now inherit that I've got to take care of because they never take care of it. So they might have to be eating ramen for a little bit while I take care of it. It is part of it.
One
Uh,
thing to think about, just to kind of talk about that comment with Nice, is yeah, they do go through managers, which is very concerning. But also, Nice isn't like a destination place for a lot of people.
yeah.
That's the stepping stone. So that could be part of it too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get the channel that the French league is on. So I know that they've also gone through a few players. I know there are players that
Yeah.
have come and gone through Nice. I know Casper Schmeichel was there for a bit.
Yep.
Ross Barkley was there for a little bit.
Yep.
They lost. Was it Turam? Kefren Turam, was he
Yep.
at Nice?
I think so.
And he says Teresa Amorim exposing these players. We need to back them. Yeah, maybe. And somebody made a comment like maybe he's just kind of giving a finger to Rashford and his PR by putting him on the bench and not playing him. I have no idea. I don't think Amorim is that petty, but it would be funny. Um, I think I wouldn't have a problem if he had Rashford on the bench to get him a closer view of what the situation is. and the fact that he could be helping, but he's choosing not to.
Mm-hmm.
You watch from 10 yards away because you should be helping out, and you're choosing
Yep.
not to. Teresa, I heard Ineos is in charge of the sporting side of things and the Glazers of the rest. Is this true? If so, they're taking a lot of criticism for things not sporting. Yeah, it could be a good point. Like I said a couple times, I don't know the intricacies. Obviously, I know about as much as you do when it comes to what's released. I have pointed out some of the extra context, like with the charity situation and stuff, that people weren't quite getting the full picture on. Because United, there's a whole lot. Like we still have the MU Foundation, that is the charity that the club works with. Like we have that. Like we do a lot for charity. Like and Teresa, the media, it's their job. It's like in England, in the UK, when you're a journalist, your only job is to bash United and to spin it. They'll sit on things. They'll wait for the opportune moment to put tough stuff out there. Samuel Butthurst is out here every single day trying to take pot shots at United. One of these days I'm going to get sued or something. I don't know by Samuel Luckhurst. Rob says, Amram doing all these interviews. Where is Barada? It's funny though, because like, and I'm not saying you're wrong. It's like, how often do owners and CEOs and sporting directors give interviews? Like, it bugged me so much the last couple of years. Like, some content creators are demanding the club make statements. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
How often do clubs make statements on the kind of stuff that people want them to make statements on? That never happens. Like, it's
Yeah.
I get it. We want to know, but at the same time, like that doesn't happen. Like they're not beholden to people because no club does that. Like how often does Florentino Perez come out and defend himself and explain his decisions? Like it doesn't. Even like Brentford CEO doesn't do that. Danny says yes. That's what we're all told. Teresa, you good on time right now, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Just try. It takes. This is why the streams take longer now because there's more people. I want to make sure everybody's getting their voices out there. Amram plays to win. His not stressed, just pissed. Yeah, I mean we're
Yeah,
all pissed right
100%.
now. Being pissed like helps a little bit sometimes, but it is what it is. Rob Taft says Trawler Limited own United, not Ineos, according to Company's House. Isn't that's their name though, isn't it? Isn't that the name that they gave their
Probably.
LLC is Trawlers Limited, kind of like Blue Co. kind of thing.
Could be. I don't know.
Tree says, "Oh, how sad! The fans ruin everybody with assumptions, even the players. It's not very uplifting at all." Danny says, "100% Teresa. Eric Ten Hag threw everything out the window fast to protect these players. Amorim needs to stick to
Yeah.
his priorities." Yeah, I mean, his priorities right now are to try to put us in the best position and try to
Yeah.
stamp his system down, stamp this culture, and move forward. And it's like a train. Like the train's leaving, whether or not you're on it, you
Yep.
just be on it or be left behind. That's the way it's got to be. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. RSV, welcome back, my friend. How are you, Dylan? RSV doesn't live that far from us.
Woo!
I'm hoping to maybe see him at Loaded Dice one of these days.
Yeah.
Big up. If Ineos get rid of at least 10 players this January and summer, then I will start showing some sort of faith. That's a big ask. Because again, I've said many times, this isn't like popping in FIFA and you just hit that add to transfer list button. If they're crap enough for us not to want them, then they're probably crap enough for a lot of other clubs to not want to pay them. And odds are, if they're at United, they're on a fat wage, and no one's going to pay that. Most of these players are going to end up leaving for free just because, unless we start taking losses, which I do think Ineos will probably do more so than the Glazers did. No more of the Martial, Phil Jones, keep rolling that contract over kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But he says so far it's been underwhelming. It can feel that way because it's still just what 6 months in. They've
Yeah.
had one transfer window. They've had a lot to go through. It's still early doors. If we're going to give players a full year, if we're going to give managers however many years, then owners should get a little bit of a grace period as well. As this item though implies, like some of the cutbacks need to stop, especially the ones that
Yeah.
hurt the fans. Rob Taft says they only own 28%. Glazers are still the main owners. Ineos taking the flag. Yeah, and people need to remember the Glazers. There are six of them. They split that ownership six ways. So I think Sir Jim is the single largest individual shareholder with like I think he upped it to like almost 29% recently. Danny says Ineos decided not to trigger the 12 million deal for Wonder Kid Profundi. He is now going to return to Udinese. Danny's not going to be happy about that. What? Isn't Lucerne one of Ineos's clubs though?
Yep.
Lucerne Sport.
Yep.
Yeah. Rob said Rashford's PR are toxic. He needs to go. I mean, not doing himself any favors, is he? RSV, my theory is that Glazers knew that the fans have constantly been giving them backlash, so they decided to give Sir Jim 25%, and if it goes wrong, then he gets the blame, and the Glazers will get rid of him. Well, I'm here to make sure the Glazers don't like escape the blame and the responsibility and the accountability for what they've had. They will escape it on paper because it's never their money and they don't have to do it. And they just keep taking. But I'm here to constantly remind and wave that flag that the shit show they were in is because of them, not Ineos, not Amorim.
Yep.
It's because of them. Rob says, never understand why Bruno got a huge extension. Crazy. And that's under Ineos. Was it under Ineos?
Was it just this summer? I think it was just this
I
summer.
thought it was last season.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Now, remember, a lot of these decisions that are made, those were like, if it was this summer, this was before Ashworth got here. This is before Barada got here. This is before Ineos were really doing a whole lot. And a lot of these things, they don't just happen right away. If there's contract talks like that, this is why, like, the Phil Jones situation. Ollie gets flack for Phil Jones getting that contract extension. That was already in place before Ollie got here, just because it happened when Ollie was here. That wasn't on Ollie. Was that Ollie? Was it Josie? I can't remember.
It was Ollie.
That's not on Ollie. Just like it's not. Some of the stuff that's been in the works for a while. So again, I'm not saying for sure that's what, but I'm just saying like it's not always just it happened on this point. This is who is here, so that person is responsible. Kind of a deal. All right, one more real quick. I'm gonna jump on to the next one here. Everybody, get your thoughts in on the cutbacks before I move on to the next item. It's mainly Joel and Avram who have been the final say on the other side of things. The rest four siblings don't do anything. Yeah, I remember last year. It was only the two of those guys that wanted to keep the club. The other siblings wanted to sell the club. And so that's why that's another layer that people have to remember. Yes, the six siblings, they share, but they're not always on a united front. They don't always see eye to eye. So it's not hard. It wouldn't be hard to convince one or two of them to sell more shares to Sir Jim and get more of them out and reduce that say-so power. Plus, is it Avram? Is he the one who looks like a testicle? I don't remember. Okay, cool. Awesome. Rob, it was after the FA Cup final. Ineos been here since last Christmas Eve. Ineos were announced last Christmas Eve. It's not that simple as they were announced. They've completely come in and started working on stuff. It's not like it's like buying a house. You can buy the house, but you've got to go through that closing period, that stuff. Like you're not in the house right away. Some more often than not. Eric, the game this weekend. Do you know Amorim believes you can win? Do you believe what?
I mean, I always believe we can win. It's just getting everybody else on the same page.
What do
Very frustrating.
I believe and believe, right?
Yep. And it's the hope that kills you, especially after that the defense doesn't help you out.
It is the hope. For some reason, we cling to it. All right, moving on because we are cruising. Number 8, resolution.
Yeah.
Stick by the manager. This one, to me, is applied to Ineos, but also to us, the fans. I've already seen people online calling out Ruben Amorim. He's in over his head. Sporting were the best team in Portugal, like Ajax were the best team in Amsterdam, so it's no coincidence that he was doing well there. He's in over his head. He needs to switch to a back four. This, that, I've already seen it. It's already happening. Like, this is our fan base. He came in mid-season with the squad that we've already been slating for a couple years, the same squad who got us where we are, the same squad who's been here for a couple other managers, down tools, the 21, 22 dark ages we don't want to talk about. So he's got no preseason, smack dab in the middle of a crazy packed fixture schedule. Like the month of December was not kind in terms of fixtures. It was always going to be a rough first month, but he was Ineos's guy. Even in the spring, they talked to him. They were reportedly interested. They walked away reportedly because he didn't suit the system. Omar Barada came in. That's when Omar Barada came in and kind of took over and made the choice. But they stuck with him. They sacked Ten Hag to go back and get him. They did all this midseason. They have to back him. They have to stick with Amorim. You can't. Now, when I say back him, a lot of people in this say when he's back the manager, stick by manager, that means just buy players. It's not what it means. It is a must. I think we have to strengthen in January. And part of strengthening, like I've said before, addition by subtraction, getting rid of some players. But it means you have to weather the storm. Listen to him when he says player A isn't going to work, or I need this kind of profile. Listen to him when he says do this and that. Like, back him. And the fans, too, need to stop being so knee-jerk. Stop chomping in the bit for a manager to go just because we've lost a couple games. I'm frustrated just as much as everyone else is. I have to come on here and relive this shit by doing a match reaction. It's not fun. It's like getting kicked in the nuts and then saying, "Please, sir, may I have another?" It's not enjoyable. But I'm not joking when I say there are already United fans saying Amorim is in over his head. But again, just like Ajax before Ten Hag got here, go check what Sporting was doing before Amorim got there. It's a big deal. Your
Well,
thoughts on that, Dill?
yeah, just like you're talking about with Sporting, they hadn't won a league title in like 10 years before he got there, and now they
Yeah,
had two on the bounce plus like the Taca de Portugal, I think. So they every time, just to kind of piggyback on that, yes, he's going to need time, but every time I see him on the touchline, it's like he knows what he wants to do, and he's so frustrated that these players just aren't getting it.
yeah. He's in a full-on
Yeah,
squat for 90 minutes,
yeah,
man. Like
and
full
it's
on.
different because Ten Hag never looked like that. Ten Hag looked. I thought Ten Hag would do better, and by the end of it, he just looked lost for what to do. But Amarin looks like he knows what he wants to do. He's just mad that it's not being done.
Yeah, I doubt that he's telling the players stop, pass it backwards, stop,
Oh
pass it
yeah,
backwards. Like I doubt that he's telling them, hey,
yeah,
pass it straight out of touch under no
yeah,
pressure. Like I doubt that he's telling Mizraoui, hey, on the edge of your own box with the ball, dribble across your box and then lose possession
exactly.
there. I doubt that he's saying, hey, nobody jump to clear these corners. Like
Yeah.
it's a big player, but that's the thing. I think we need to remind ourselves that a lot of this is players. Amram, he has gotten some things wrong in my opinion, especially
Oh,
recently in terms of team selection. But that's going to happen. Fergie got it wrong every now and then too. It's going to happen. I'm not comparing the two. Don't before anyone clips me up. I'm not saying Amram is Fergie. I'm just
but Fergie's first couple of years, I mean, remember he didn't win the FA Cup till what, third, fourth year, '89.
I
So
mean,
it took him a while to change the culture. Like when it's this bad, it's not going to happen overnight, and
yeah,
that's the thing we got to remember.
those first 4 years of Fergie, those were rough. I mean, I tell people all the time. You imagine what might have been, what alternate timeline might have occurred had there been social media back in those days and stuff,
Hmm.
or we had the Glazers back then or something, or just transplant that Fergie to this time period
Oh,
and exact same things. He wouldn't be here. Like
no,
it's like we have to be patient. There's more evidence to suggest that sticking with the manager through the hard times is going to work than sacking one every couple of years. We
yep,
can't just say, "Well, will Chelsea do it?" Like Real Madrid do it. Like different kettle of fish right now.
yep,
Chelsea's new approach is just buy as many players as you can in the hopes that the numbers game will like 10 or 11 of them will leak through that are good.
yep. Or you
So
just get your one Cole Palmer, and then you're fine.
yeah, it's Cole Palmer FC this year. It
Yep.
basically really is. He's basically what Cole Palmer has come in and done. It's not that they're just like he's doing everything. It's that what he did last year and what he's brought to this team in terms of that mentality shift, that morale boost, has eased pressure off a lot of these other players. It's
Yep.
allowed them to kind of play a little bit more,
Yep.
um, if that makes sense. Rob says 100% stick by Amram. He talks sense, straight shooter. Yeah, that's one thing we talked about Amram last spring when I did that profile video. He's a good communicator. He is flexible, but maybe he needs to be a little. I don't know. Maybe he needs to be more flexible. I don't know. You guys let me know. RSV, he says Amram isn't adapting to player strengths, which is good. Eric Ten Hag, on the other hand, did so after Brentford 4-0 just to get results in the short term, but he completely abandoned Ajax ball long term. That was probably the point for me with Ten Hag where I got a little frustrated is because I was excited watching him at his Ajax side.
Hmm.
It was like watching vintage United from like '08, '07, like moves, like quick transition, good counterattacks. We just didn't do it. And I think, like, I somewhat agree with you a little bit when he said, adapting a player's strengths. I think Louis Van Gaal did that same thing. It's like Louis Van Gaal was like, Rooney's got a good long ball. Let's play him in midfield, like, kind of thing here and there. Like, it's not always that simple. It's not like on paper that's the way things were. I think Ten Hag was a little bit almost legalistic to a point with some of the stuff, whether it was fitness, time it took to get used to the system. Like, just play them, man. It doesn't.
Yep.
Not hard. Danny agrees with you, RSV. What are your thoughts on sticking by the manager, Dylan? Did I already ask you that?
Yeah, but yeah, we got to stick by him. We yes, I do think a tactical tweak here or there could be useful. Like maybe put more in the midfield, but I don't want him to go away from the core concept. He need that needs to be stuck in, and that's how they're going to play.
And that's going to take the longest because it's
Yeah,
a completely new way of seeing the game,
exactly.
playing the game, and that's going to be hard. And that's where a lot of these players aren't going to cut it because not all of them, very few of them already started out with a very low baseline when it comes to footballing IQ, and trying to change that now. This is why I think Rashford maybe is just opting for the easier option of leaving and going to
Yeah,
a system where he can just play the way. Because maybe at 27, he's just like, I don't want to have to learn a whole new system again. I'm over that. This is like 5 managers now. Like, I'm done.
which I can't blame him for that. That's a lot to try to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I blame him for coming out and doing an interview that
Oh
apparently
yeah,
wasn't
that
sanctioned.
was
But I'm like,
yeah,
you could have handled all this behind closed doors, and you
yeah.
might even be playing right now. But it is what it is. He made his choices. Like I said, priorities, choices, and consequences are the three things that make the world go around.
Yep.
Rob says Ferguson was starting when Liverpool were like the Roman Empire. I got hooked on United once a 17-year-old Giggsy burst onto the scene about my age and Welsh. Yeah, my you guys know Giggsy's one of my favorites. I dropped his jersey on the floor the other day, so it's above the Cantona one, but you guys, I didn't want you to see the crack, so I moved it. But yeah, Giggsy was different gravy altogether.
Oh yeah.
He was awesome. Danny says LAFC is perfect for Rashford. Yeah, we mentioned that in that video talking about what could be next for Rashford. LAFC. So for those of you who aren't familiar with MLS teams have designated player rules. So
Mhm.
you get 3 designated players, which means you get 3 players on your roster that you could pay because they have a salary cap in the MLS. We don't have that here in England. Some people would want it. It would have to do a salary cap. Literally every league in the world would have to do it for it to work.
Yep.
No one's going to do that. So anyway, but LAFC they only have 2 out of 3 of their DP spots filled, and so that's why I think that could be an option. It's the kind of city that I think Rashford would probably thrive in, similar to going to Paris.
Mhm.
I think that he could do really well there. For instance, Miami, there's no room for him. In Miami, I don't know if the Galaxy have enough spots. I think LAFC are the ones that are the place to go. But yeah, I think that could be a
Well,
good.
and all the reports come out, he loves the U.S. I mean, he goes
Yeah,
to Miami all the time. He's going to New York,
definitely goes to New York, doesn't he?
L.A. L.A. would just be the next stop for him. So
He can't go to New York. They're part of the City Group. If he goes to
yeah,
NYCFC, that'd be frustrating. He could go
he can
play
go
in
to Red Bulls.
well, New York, right?
Yeah,
They play in New Jersey.
yeah.
So, moving on. Number 9. This is my last option. So, if anyone has any more, Dylan, if you have any more, feel free to throw them in after this. But this is my last one. Number 9. Integrate youth? Question mark. I'm Ron
This
Burgundy.
was the one I was going to bring up, and I was glad when we were talking about before I saw it on there. So
Yeah, it's a question mark because again, what you guys know when I say about youth, I don't want to just force it just to do it for the sake of doing it. I wasn't sure about this one, but I'm throwing it in mostly because I want to see where it lands with y'all. I included it for 2 reasons. We've been linked to so many young players, like Giovanni Quenda, for example, when we already have a lot of really good youngsters. I feel like Montato, Ennis, Obi Martin, Gore, Fletcher. We have a lot of really good young players. But also, I put it in here mostly because how many times this season have we watched this club and talked about a match after the fact? And just how many, like, be honest with me, how many times have you just muttered to yourself or someone else, just play the kids? Like, how many times? Like, admit it. It's probably been a couple times. Again, if you've been following the channel, you know I'm a big fan of the academy. We did the watch along. I'll be going to the FA Youth Cup game when I'm there in a couple weeks, so I'm really excited for that. But you also know that I love the tradition of youth at this club, but I don't want to force it if it hurts the club. I'm all about the club. I'm all about the results. I don't want to force it just to keep a record going or whatever. But again, I'm a firm believer. If they're good enough, give them a shot. If our first teamers are shit, play the youth.
oh,
Give a couple of youngsters. We've seen Kokonki make the bench. Collier was on the bench against Newcastle. This is all I ask: is integrate them somehow. Give do more than just let them travel with the squad. Like I just is it, and that's the reason it's like question mark because I'm asking the question to you guys, to you, Dylan, to the guys in the chat. Danny says dozen times I've said it. Yeah, he's being honest with himself. Thank you. I've said it. I mean,
dozen times per half.
per half. Yeah, just play the youth. You know, like, and again, we're in a situation where Xerxes is getting pulled off half hour into the match. We're in a
Yeah,
situation where if we're going to be making schoolboy errors anyway, just play the schoolboys. Like, just play
yep,
the kids. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
yeah, yeah. I 100% agree. Now, you don't have to play them, big minutes or anything, but you need. I think blooding them with 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, that could be useful. They might bring that energy that we might be lacking.
It's and it's frustrating because under under better circumstances, we should be in a situation now, whether it's in Europa League or whatever, where we should be able to give them more minutes. We should be
Yep.
qualified for the next stage in Europa League. Like our cup draws were a little rough. I wouldn't have done that. Like, I mean, but they can't all be Barnsley's, right? We have to. We're gonna get. We had a couple of years of good cup draws. Um, Now it seems like it's just it's coming back around, but
Yep.
we should be able to do a little something more with the kids. I know Amorim, Wilcox, Darren Fletcher have all been at the youth games watching from the touchline, so they're well versed in the kids we have. They will have seen some stuff. Rob wants to know, do they have money in the MLS? An injured Bale took a big pay cut and robbed them. They have designated player slots, so they can pay a lot of players. Plus, like, now you've got, like, the reason Messi went there, because Messi gets a percentage of all new Apple TV subscribers
Mhm.
after going to the MLS, which is streamed only on Apple TV. So there are a lot of deals like that. Plus, these players just they make more than just their wages. They have sponsorships, they get free crap, they get clothing lines, all sorts of crap. They're making money hand over fist, whether
Well,
it's
and
football or
if he
not.
goes to LA, I mean, the soccer community is burgeoning out there, so he'd be on just about every
Yeah,
billboard or whatever he'd want.
he and he'd do well, and he'd be big. I remember when Zlatan went to the Galaxy, that was
Oh
a
yeah,
huge deal. Like the full page ad he took out in the LA Times when he went was a thing of beauty. That was, and like, I'm here for it. I love Zlatan.
I
Like,
love Zlatan too.
LA, welcome to Zlatan. Like, come on, can you do any better than that?
Mhm.
Rob says, agree, start integrating them. We haven't a deep squad. We don't have a deep squad, and some of these youngsters are going to do a lot better. Like, stick Ennis, stick somebody up in that
Yeah.
10 role. Put Obi Martin on the pitch. If Xerxes not cutting it, throw Obi Martin on the bench. Either that's
Mhm.
gonna either you're gonna have someone better than Xerxes, or Xerxes gonna step up his game. Either way, it's win-win.
Yep.
And even if it's a free hit in some ways. Now, I think the caveat for a lot of people when it comes to the youth is there's always this question, like, you don't want to hurt their confidence. You don't want to put them on against Liverpool. You don't want to bring them on when we're down 3-0 to Bournemouth. It's only going to hurt their confidence. This comes back to the mentality thing. This is probably one of the, and it's going to sound harsh, but it's probably one of the only ways you're going to find out early on if some of these youngsters have it in terms of the
Yep.
mentality. I don't like it. I don't like it. We saw Kembwala play against Liverpool, and he did fine. Ahmad, fine. Kavi Menu, just fine. There's levels to this. You'll be able to tell. There's a reason Kavi Menu was so highly rated. There's a reason Garnacho's here. Garnacho's not a bad footballer, but he's playing, and so you're going to find out really soon. And if it's too soon, it's too soon. It is what it is. But I hear the argument. I just don't know if I 100% agree with it all the time. Teresa says, Amorim will, when is done weeding, the senior players must step up, included them in training. Example, they will feel included. Fans must grow up and support their team. I support the team.
Yep.
But it's like, I can't want it more than the players do.
Yeah.
Like when I work with clients, I can't want the client to get better more than the client does. Like, at what point, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Dylan, you're a teacher. I mean, it's not as simple as sometimes it's just telling people to do something or not to do something. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
more
can't
to
make
it.
the kids do the work. They have to, you know, be willing to put forth the effort. So.
Yeah, and like in like coaching a football team, like teaching a classroom, there's so many different personalities and there's so many different people, different ways of learning, all that stuff. It's one guy's got to manage all that. It's frustrating. Herding cats, man, herding cats. Danny B says Montato has the potential to be on the same level as Quenda now, still only 16. Yeah, I don't want to spend 70, 75 million on Quenda on a 17-year-old when we've got people like that in the academy. Like Thwaite's doing it. He just signed a new his first professional contract. And like Danny says, he's definitely one for the future, maybe next year. We've got a lot of really good players. Dan Gore was in and around the first team last season, like preseason, until he got injured. Um, Rob says, bring back Johnny Evans instead of Martinez. I had Johnny Evans in my starting 11, but I had him in the center against Newcastle because I didn't know what was going on with the lit, and I thought Mazraoui needed a break. Teresa, I'll finish for tonight. I'm expecting a win. Senior motivated. Your team, I'll support it. Thank you for stopping by, Teresa. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Rob says, I just don't like Manu with Eriksson or Casemiro. He spends most of his time covering them and getting knackered. Him with Ugarte is much better. Yeah. Ideally,
Yeah.
Manu and Ugarte is the pivot for the future.
Yes.
Ideally, that's what it was. Manu came on against Newcastle and honestly changed the game. I
Yep.
think if you would have started, it could have had a different outcome. By that point, we are already down 2-0.
Yeah.
Damage was done. The players don't have the resilience to come back for that. Again, similar to Spurs, we gave ourselves too big of a hill to climb in that game. Does Dylan, any more thoughts on the youth before I take this off the screen?
Nope. Just make sure we integrate them at some point. That's the big thing.
Yeah. You guys feel free to get involved in the chat if you have any other resolutions, because it's great for us to set the goals for our players, for our manager, for our owners, for ourselves as fans. However, the long term prognosis for New Year's resolutions isn't all that great. I was looking it up online. I was like, I wonder how long New Year's resolutions typically are held on for. According to some studies, most people only stick with them for a couple months. I think Forbes. So, according to a Forbes health study, the average is around 3.5 months. Is that for people to stick with their New Year's resolutions? Thankfully, that's about as long as there's left in the season. So maybe it just mathematically evens itself out. Um, oops, let me take that off. Computers. But which one of these would be your biggie? Is there? I went through what, like nine. Which one would be the priority? Which one maybe are you willing to put on the back burner or maybe put down the totem pole? Basically, in terms of these resolutions, what is your must? What is your number one as Manchester United heads into 2025 and bids a very fond middle finger to 2024? Um, I'm gonna go through the chat. Dylan, think about maybe out of all these, what would be the one you would maybe prioritize? RSV says Manu still can't play in double pivot alongside Ugarte. He doesn't cover the space as well. Lacks physicality. There was a time before Manu got injured when he actually was leading the league in interceptions and dribbles. Um, so I think he's got enough in terms of reading the game and ability in the ball. And the thing we have to remember with Manu, similar to Garnacho and similar to Harry Amas, he's not done growing yet.
Yeah.
When Manu
Well,
hits that growth spurt, it's gonna be like scary
yep.
hours.
And he's got to play with Ugarte more. They haven't developed the chemistry yet.
Yeah, I
So
haven't even looked at how often those two have played together in a pivot.
I think 2 matches, 3 maybe. It really hasn't much.
Because Ugarte wasn't getting played
Yep.
because Ten Hag reasons. Like, you have to be here for this long before
Hmm.
you're ready. And then Manu got injured kind of when the overlap was coming. So
Yep.
I think that I'd like to see that more. They're both still very young. Ugarte's still only 23. Manu obviously still very young. This is why I don't think Manu should be starting. This is why I said it's the pivot for the future. I'd like us to bring in someone 25, 26,
Yeah.
27 in that midfield role alongside Ugarte. Someone like an Ederson or Joshua Kimmich. Someone like that. I would have liked Rabiot in the summer, but that ship sailed. But yeah, for the future, and there's nothing wrong with saying Manu is not quite there yet, or he doesn't cover it. He's still learning.
Yeah.
Similar to Rasmus Højlund, I'm not saying you're doing this, RSV, but we don't want to judge these teenagers, these 20, 21-year-olds, by the same standards that we're going to judge 28, 29-year-olds. I get it. They're on the pitch. They should be good. I get it. But they're all still learning. Manu wasn't brought in to start every week. Højlund wasn't brought in to start every week. Garnacho really shouldn't be starting every week. But we have no leaders. We have nobody to learn from. And quite frankly, we don't have the depth, the fitness for them not to play right now. It's freaking annoying. Danny says, priorities, get rid of Deadwood, promote youths, and get better with recruiting players. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, we got to improve the recruitment.
Yep.
Rob says, RSV could see Manu playing as a 10 instead of Brunez. Danny wants João Gomez. Danny is waving the João Gomez flag. He will die on that hill. We'll see what happens with Wolves. I mean, could the new manager bounce be enough? Dylan, what would be your priority for your New Year's resolution for United? What would you maybe just focus on heading into 2025?
Mentality has to change. They have to get more mentally tough. I don't know how they're going to do that with the players they have there.
Yeah.
Casemiro and myself checking out. Sometimes it looks like
Combined age of 64 in that pivot was
yep.
not a good look against one of probably the most physical, dominating midfields in the league.
Yeah. Really, the only one I trust to put in the best shift would be, and he can't really do it all the time. Think of those older players that are going to do that. Bruno is going to try his best, but he gets rash. And Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
And that's tough to say, but that's almost where I'm like, you keep Johnny Evans around just to be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep him around. Maybe integrate him into the coaching system at some point. Kind of like what we did in the past with Carrick and Giggs and whatnot. I think I think it's like, that's a good point. Like, if we have those players who have that leadership, who have that mentality, who and like in Johnny Evans' case, who know the club, who understand the club, keep them around. Like, that's invaluable. I'm glad that we had Carrick around in the coaching staff for so long. Like, he can be that voice. He can be that in and out of the dressing room. He's got the recency. He's still playing and stuff. it's invaluable. We can't overlook the value that brings. Rob says they know they have to go and fight against Liverpool. It'll be a cup style game. We'll see.
I
We
hope so.
You guys are quickly forgetting what happened when we played them earlier in the season because that was a complete embarrassment. For me, it would definitely be improve the mentality. It's hard for me to say that because while I do think it is probably the most important thing to work on, and this like a lot of it falls under that. Even like recruiting players, and we need to find players that have mentality. That all falls under it. It's
Exactly.
also perhaps in terms of addressing the current mentality or the lack thereof, it's also the most difficult, most complicated problem to address. But that's why it's the most important. We have to get these players to fight, to put in a shift, to switch on, to talk to each other, to just give a shit. We have to figure out, and that has to start with like what's going wrong, like
Yep.
what's because the drop off has been just
It's
astonishing.
ridiculous.
Like
Yeah.
Leach is not a bad player, but from his first season to
Yeah.
this season, what happened? Like, what happened? I don't get it.
But it seems like that happens a lot. They have one really good season, and then after that, they just drop off.
Yeah,
And I don't get that.
I don't get. You don't just become a bad player,
No,
like, and you don't lose the mentality. Something has to typically happen, whether that's the stuff going on with Rashford, the results not getting better. Maybe looking at it from a macro level, like at the way the club's been run the last couple of years. Some of these players are like, what am I doing here? This club is a shambles. Like
yeah,
this is a circus. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I think you could any one of those could be accurate. Danny says Dallo could be shipped out in January. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Danny, on Madrid maybe putting in a bid here. Rob Tass says we knocked them out of the cup, but that 7-0 is still fresh in the memory. Yeah.
yeah, that
Or
hurts.
the 3-0 from earlier this season. That literally was, I mean,
Yeah,
another situation Casemiro brought off at halftime for Collier. Like, that's how bad we're doing. Asen, welcome to the channel. Good work, guys. Thank you.
thank you.
Christian Erickson
Appreciate it, man.
giving us some inside knowledge on what's going on. Then he says, to be honest, were our good seasons even that good? They weren't right. Yeah, I mean, depends on what you call a good season, right? Is eighth in an FA Cup a good season? Is third in the Carabao Cup a good season? I mean, this is why it's hard to have a right or wrong. It's everybody's got a perspective.
Yeah,
I'll take. I mean, it's hard. I'll take what we've done the last couple of years over what Arsenal are doing because we're actually winning. Um,
I will say, and this goes along with the mentality. Excuse me, the mentality thing. I think we've got maybe not everybody right, but I think we've got some of the higher ups that have the right mentality. Omar Barada setting that was it 2026 they're going to win the league.
I think it's 2028. I thought.
2028. I mean, that's the standard we should be at. Not top four, not Europe. We should be going for the league. And that even if we don't make it, that's the goal you go for. And I
Yeah.
think we've rested on those laurels that hey, we're Manchester United. We're just gonna make it happen. We can't do that. So
Yeah, that's like the Glazer mentality. A lot of it, is just we're Manchester United, so they took advantage of a lot of that. I think
exactly.
that we have to. We're the club overall in terms of the way we've been doing things has not been caught up to the modern game. That's why you're not even seeing it called manager anymore. Now it's head coach. The whole department's in charge of things. Like I said, up until only two clubs in the Premier League have a dedicated psychology department because now it was the same way when nutrition came in and sports science and all that stuff. Like you have to start keeping up with it now. Those two clubs are Liverpool and City.
Yeah.
So make
Well, it's going
that
to be three when you get hired in there. So.
yeah. Let me finish this course and then we'll talk. No, I'd go work with the academy if I worked with
Oh
anything.
yeah.
I want these kids to be able to build some resilience and have these
Oh
skills
yeah.
while they're young. So by the time they get to the first team, they're like, "No, bro, we got this. Like
Yep.
we're good." Um, Danny says, even under Ollie, Jose, we were never there. Yeah, I think we got as close as we have been with a couple of second place finishes. In the future, I would like to do another video ranking managers post Fergie because I think that's going to be
Yeah.
an interesting response from people. Like, what do you value? Trophies, vibes, whatever. Everybody's going to have a different answer for that. But last chance, anyone, if you have any resolutions you'd like to see for the club, put them in there. Do you have any resolutions for yourself this year, Dylan? Do you make resolutions this year? You said you were going to just kind of hit the gym a little bit more.
Get the gym more. You're doing a class. I'm doing classes. Trying to get a degree. Get that taken care of. Just stay
Yeah,
the course. Stay the
from your
course.
homework, man. You guys thank Dylan for taking some time out of his day after traveling to come and chat about United for a little bit.
I love talking to you guys and just being a part of this. So thank you guys for letting me do this. Thank you, Sean, for letting me do this. I
Oh
really
man,
appreciate that.
thank you, man. Yeah, I always love having you on. Like I haven't seen you in a little while. Obviously, holidays busy, and just I was sick. Things
Yeah,
going on. You're moving and stuff. So it's just good to chat. Good to see you. Hopefully, see you again in person soon. But that's gonna do it for us, you guys. Please hit that like button if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit the bell. Make sure you don't miss anything. We will be back to do a preview of this weekend's match against Liverpool, which I don't. I wish I could just skip ahead like a week and not have to just talk about it at all
right.
because it's just the same shit, different day. Danny does it. The players didn't win the power over Jose. Things would have been different. He would
I
go
agree
on.
with that.
Yeah, as much as I don't like Jose, he did kind of get shafted. Player power won in that instance, but he doesn't help himself,
No.
in my opinion, with the way he is. But it is what it is. But
Yep.
thank you guys for stopping by. Any final thoughts before I let you go, Dylan?
Just say thank you to everybody being part of the channel, and I hope you guys have a happy new year.
Yeah, yes, thanks. Same for me. Hope you guys enjoyed your night. Didn't get too crazy. Rob with the high praise. Wow, appreciate this, my friend. Great
Thanks,
channel.
Rob.
Up there with United Stand United TV and Alice. Come on, United. Let's sign some players. Thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you guys again for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna go chill. I'm still recovering from being a little sick. Dylan, thank you again. I will get at you later on this week, my guy. Hopefully, we'll link up sometime soon.
Sounds good, man.
Till then, take it easy, guys. I'll talk to you later, and have a good one.
Have a good one, everybody.